Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Toby. Stutter. Let me start that over again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Toby Eunice of Gypsy Kiss. Stick with us for a couple of seconds, and I'll tell you whether I'm experiencing a woo-woo event or not. And these guys are going to keep me straight. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. We're looking forward to a great show. It's going to be different because normally we have a guest, and that guest gives us kind of the impetus we need to start our questions and answers and get the chat room involved in whatever we're doing. We don't have a guest tonight. And the reason we don't have a guest tonight is I was feeling very much like Toby-Wan Kenobi, and I was feeling a disturbance in the Force. And for me, the disturbance in the Force was some sense that the state of the search has changed again. And I kept wondering why, and I wasn't coming up with any answers. And then what I got was a call from a woman who was doing follow-up on an interview that Shelley and I did a couple of months ago. And she had a number of questions, and one of the questions she asked was, do you think there'll be some disappointment if someone were to find the treasure and effectively the search would end? They would lose that sense of adventure. And I thought about it for a moment, and I realized for myself, and maybe for a lot of other people, there might be a sense of adventure that you would miss. But I think what most importantly, and what we'd all feel, is a sense, a lost hope. Because I feel like we all believe that if we find this treasure, it can have a change in our lives. It can impact our lives in a positive way. And because we're not all adventurers, we're not all Indiana Jones, wearing the big brown hats, et cetera, et cetera. We're average Joes for the most part. Occasionally, some of us are outdoors type people, and they have a distinct advantage in knowing the outdoors. But for the most part, if you look at the folks that were at Fenn, they're average Joes who took an interest in it because they hope that there is a chance that they could find this treasure. And I think that's what's going to change. That led to some other research that I did, and we're going to talk about that while the night is young. But I wanted to give you a sense of why this show is different and what it's all about, and the conversation these folks have very generously agreed to have, because their response was kind of, we're not sure what you're talking about, crazy man. So we're going to see if we can help that. So let's get started with introductions. I'm going to start with Joel. Joel, would you introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about yourself and tell them where they can find you online?
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name is Joel Lewicki. A little bit about myself. I like to play the accordion and juggle. And for that reason, you guys are my only friends. So glad that you're here. And you can find me on YouTube, Joel Lewicki, or you can find me on Facebook under The Thrill of the Chase, a Forrest Fenn community focused on positive interactions.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you. I didn't know that whole accordion playing thing. I know. That's really fascinating for me.
I'll log out now.
Yeah. Mike Cowling.
Hi, everybody. Mike Cowling, Cow Lasers on YouTube. I live here in Las Vegas, and the Forrest Fenn thing just keeps me out of the heat because it is really hot out here. So yeah, the YouTube channel, I go into things other than Forrest Fenn, some other treasure hunts and some things. So check it out if you have a minute. Before
we let you get away, what's the status on the coins and everything?
The coins are just about sold out. I have some available, but I'm going to hang on to those because I'll probably do like a subscriber giveaway or maybe do another puzzle or something.
Yeah.
But I have thought of the idea of doing a drawing. Coin number 4 just sold on eBay. So I've got coin number 5 and coin number 6. I just put up a blog on it today, actually. And we're going to do a drawing like we did originally for the coins. For coin 5, coin 6, and then there's 2 groups of 5 coins right here.
Oh, okay.
So there'll be 4 possibilities. So check out the channel and you see the details on it.
Oh, very nice. Congratulations. I should mention that in yesterday's drawing, our friend Troy Barlow, Why Must I Go, won it by coming up with the correct answer. Jason Eunice?
I'm Jason Eunice. I'm Toby's son, member of their team, and tinsmith by trade. My website is newmexicotinwork.com.
Thank you. And last but not, well, I shouldn't say that. Rick McDonald?
Hi, everybody. Rick McDonald. I go by Illinois Ghost on YouTube. I also have a blog. It's illinoisghost.wordpress.com.
All right. And you just put up a recent video, and I thought the topic was really on target. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, the recent video that you put up?
The one I just put up tonight?
Yep.
Oh, actually, well, if you've been on my blog, you notice that I've done the PDF backup files. They're kind of a everything Forrest Fenn type backup. It's from scrapbooks to his comments. So anyway, I had an idea. I wanted to kind of do one on all his signatures and all his stick figure drawings and doodles and stuff that he's done, you know, throughout the search. And he's passed them out, and a lot of searchers have them. They're in their books and stuff. So I was kind of asking if people could send them in. I want to make a collection and a huge PDF of them. And it's kind of for a reason too, you know. I don't know if he's actually trying to tell searchers something through the doodles or through the drawings, but if you notice, like when he signs books, he always goes to certain pages. And it's like routine, you know. Yeah. And when anybody says, "Hey, do this," it like messes with him. He's like, you know, he likes he gets aggravated with it or something. I don't know. But
as I was watching him the other day, he definitely has a plan, and it does kind of upset the plan when people says, "Oh, could you sign it on this page or dedicate it to my mom or something like that?" So I think that's a good idea. I think. Yeah,
but I've been collecting those drawings and stuff from the beginning all the way back to the maps and stuff that he did. I've got all those, you know, and photos of them all, and I intend to like put them all into this book and try and get a big collection.
Well, we'll make sure that we contribute the ones that we have. And last but not least, my partner in crime, Shelley Carney.
Hi, I'm Shelley with the Gypsy Kiss, and I also have another channel on YouTube called The Softer Side that you can find at thesofterside.me. And Toby and I will be on live tomorrow at 2:30 talking about relationships, and I hope that you'll join us.
Right after. And as a matter of fact, I should mention that Forrest did a drawing for you on the book that you had signed on Saturday. And we've actually had, because of the way that what it said, Forrest told her, you'll have to help me. What did Forrest say when he drew it?
That's you running towards the treasure.
Yeah. And it was one of the little stick figures on one end and then a line across to the treasure chest on the other. So we'll make sure that we make a copy of that for you. And the reason it came up is we've had several people write us emails and ask if they could have copies of that, if we could scan a copy of that little image that Fenn drew for
I also noticed that right after he did it, he told the lady sitting next to him, "Hey, I showed her exactly where it was."
Yeah, exactly. The lady sitting next to him, by the way, was Miranda Challenge. She was one of the writers that was present for Fenbury. She writes for the Esquire magazine, and her sister Annie was actually her photographer. I should mention I have posted in the description box below the article on the Fenn treasure that was written by Sheila Flynn. Sheila was also there this weekend. She did a really great job of getting the article out quickly. There were a couple of things, I haven't read it in detail. We'll have to have some probably review it a little bit better, but there are some other some interesting things in there. I strongly recommend you read it. I put a link to the actually what I did is I put a link to our post on our blog that will take you to the article, and then you can share it with folks after that. So that's the article that showed up today, and that was written by one of the reporters that was in Santa Fe this last weekend from the Daily Mail, which is a UK publication. So the other thing I wanted to mention is I talked with Cynthia today. She's back in town, and she kind of wanted to be on this panel for this discussion, but she had dinner with a friend of hers, and the friend happened to be the guy that introduced her to the search way back in the 2012 or whatever it was, and they were leaving Rio Rancho for Germany, so she really had to be at that dinner. So she wanted me to express her regrets, but she's going to be with us next week, and we're going to have a rundown on her trip to Montana and the function in the junction. And then I guess that leads to one last announcement that I need to make, and that is next Wednesday is Independence Day, and I'm really in the mood for celebrating our independence and the value of the Constitution and democracy. And so we're going to celebrate Independence Day next July 4th, and we won't be having a panel session. So in order to get coverage with Cynthia, she will be on our Tuesday afternoon program. so that we can get that done. So you can take the holiday on July 4th and not have to worry about whether you have to watch a panel session. Okay, so let me get to this part first. So one of the things that I do as part of my responsibility to maintaining the quality and the integrity of our YouTube channel is I do research. And there's lots of different kinds of research, some of them Fenn related, and some of it's related directly to the community. And one of the tools that I use for the community is I look at the various forums, and I can tell you which ones they are. They are Hint of Riches, Harry's Chase Forum, Chase Chat, Dale Neitzel's blog, and Reddit, the Reddit Fenn forum. And I'm not there to participate in them as much as I am to observe them. And several months ago, I noticed there was a I don't want to say a deterioration because that has a negative impact, a lowering of the participation. And it came in two forms. One was a objective form where the numbers were going down, the amount of activity, the number of posts, the number of people that were participating. And this was true across the whole spectrum of forums. And then the second thing that I noticed was from a subjective perspective, I saw a lowering in the quality of the conversation on all the forums. A lot of them were dealing with people who just seemed to post for the sake of posting. A lot of it was just junk. Some of it was conversations that related to other forums and their behaviors and things like that. But if I were to do it on a chart and look at the evidence, the data, it would say that where we were 6 months ago was very different from where we are now. So that was the first thing. And then, of course, we spend a lot of time watching our chat rooms and other people's chat rooms, just kind of to seeing what's going on. And we thought for the most part it was positive, but what was missing was this sense that of hope, right? And I think Fenn changed the rules when he said that, when he wrote on Mysterious Writings, I have a gut feeling that somebody's going to, and I'm paraphrasing here, I can't quote it exactly. I have a gut feeling someone will find it this summer. And I think that changed the rules of the game. I think it changed everybody's mentality. I think for the X number of tens of thousands or maybe even hundreds of thousands of people that don't live in the search area, it changed their perception of their chances. And I think it created a diminishing in hope. And then even worse, it was reinforced by people who were saying, okay, well, I'm not even waiting. I'm going to get out there. I know what the treasure is and I'm going to recover it. And so every time somebody goes out, there's this energy towards, are they going to get it? Because I can't get out. I can't get out till August or something like that. And so I think that's had an impact on the community. And so it's what I was feeling. I'm not sure that anybody else is, but that's why I brought these guys here. And I'm going to start with Joel Lewicki, because I think Joel can give me an answer to the question. The question that I want answered, that I would like an answer to, please, is, in your sense, has the state of the search, and more importantly, the state of the search community, changed in your impression? Joel.
So my short answer to that would be that my opinion of it is that it's constantly in a state of change. And by that, I mean, I'm a guitar player, right? Mm-hmm. So if I play a chord, I am strumming those strings and they start vibrating and making noise. Over time, it will begin to reach a point of equilibrium as it begins to die back down. And I need to strike it again in order to produce another note, more noise, more movement. Forrest has notoriously done that throughout the state of the chase. He said he always knew the treasure chest was a bomb. He didn't know he had a fuse until the article in the United magazine, right? And it blew up. He got so many emails it shut down his email server right away early on in the chase. And, you know, they had to kind of rework how they were going to do these things. It really expanded beyond what he had anticipated. And he's done that over and over and over again. There's new articles that come out, new interviews, new television interviews, new print media interviews, new memoirs. He's let out other, memoirs about his stories that fuel the chase. Did he come out with one that maybe backfired a little bit by saying he had a... Sure, okay, everyone gets a mulligan, right? Maybe it put a bit of a damper on it because it maybe brought some reality to people's searches. But I think that my observation of it is that there's still a trend of it expanding, because there are, at least from the things that I see people asking, they obviously are new to the search and they haven't done a lot of research, which is great. I welcome those people in. I welcome the diversity in the search community. But that's my personal take on it. I don't see it as going from this like higher intensity overall and then necessarily sliding off. I see it just changing. It's definitely changing.
Well, you know what? I really like your metaphor, and I want to make sure that I got it correct. So what you're saying is Fenn is that guitar player, and he's strumming. And
Absolutely.
Every time he decides on one of those strum points, he changes his chord and he strums out, and that sends out these vibrations that affect the audience in different ways.
Absolutely. And once it starts to get a little quiet, he'll come up with another chord.
Jason Michael, you're a guitar player. What do you think about that?
I think that the concept is very sound. I think the idea, it's a good analogy, but I don't know if I'd give him a pass or a mulligan on the comment, honestly. You know, all respect to Joel. I think you had a great point, but honestly, especially from what I've seen, I kind of had the sense like, well, when is he going to start to show his age? Essentially, he's been a master at controlling the marketing of this, whether he was expecting the explosion or not. He's really done a masterful job by anyone's account. And I kept saying to myself, when is his age going to start to show? I mean, sooner or later, you start letting things slip. You start forgetting, you know, what you said, how you said it, how it's supposed to be framed. He's in a very unique position where people are literally hanging on his every word, and a different word in a sentence that he said a dozen times before can create a firestorm on the blogs and vlogs and what have you. So that it was so blatant, that idea that I have a gut feeling and a specific time, that I really have a hard time believing that it just kind of popped out. I really think there may have been marketing, but honestly, I think he might have been tamping down some fires that we'll never know, that might be in the background. And that was my sense of it.
So, Joel, I'll give you an opportunity for a rebuttal before I go over to
Nice.
Rick. What do you think?
We're going head to head, Joel.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're right. You're exactly right. And, you know, it's not going to be long before people are talking about the statement in the article that came out today that if someone, you know, comes to fisticuffs, right? Or if someone gets murdered, that might be the end of the chase. Well, we've never heard anything along those lines before. And so you're right. I think that certainly the things that he says, people are reading into all of those things, and I think rightfully so. And that's why he sticks to the same script so often, and continues to put those out in different ways. The guy knows how to advertise full page color. Right. Okay. He knows how to do that, and he does a really good job at it. And I think you may be onto something there. Who knows why he said that about the gut feeling? Maybe he was actually tamping something down that we'll never know about.
Right.
And we know.
To finish my point, Dad, I want to say something else. So I was trying to give that idea that I'm kind of waiting for him to show, you know, his age and everything. But the fan that I saw at Collected Works was in complete control of everything he was saying and doing. Yeah. And nobody was pulling anything over him, and he was pushed. If you can actually look at the video that Dad posted, even though that was casual, it was loose, you can see people pushing, and they're trying to do
cringeworthy
personal favors, trying to get him to respond in a certain way. So they were doing kind of like popping photos in his face and watching his face. And let me tell you, there was never a moment that he wasn't in control of exactly what he was putting out there. And he's got a wry sense of humor, so he was kind of throwing it back in a few people's faces. So, I don't think there's anything he puts out that's really out of his control.
Rick McDonald, where are you on the matter?
Well, you know, kind of like what Jason's talking about. You know, I think Forrest is in control, but I do think his age is starting to show. And that's kind of when Shiloh come on the scene. And I'll tell you what, he's quick to step up when somebody starts pressuring Forrest, and you know, it's possible Forrest might slip and say something. I mean, he's on the ball, and he's right there saying, hey, you know, we're not doing, you know, he puts an end to it real quick.
Yeah.
But as far as everything, like you're talking about the change and everything. You know, I do kind of think that when Forrest made that comment about the gut feeling, I think that was a bombshell. You know, and it would make people think, well, man, I'm just getting started. If it's already, you know, coming to an end, what chance do I got? You know,
Right.
So that is a possibility. But also, all that started happening about the time all of us started running the YouTubes. You know, and you know, I go on the forums too, but it's like you were talking about earlier, there's negative comments almost like within 3 to 4 comments
Right.
down. And it's not like on our channels, we can moderate that. We can get rid of that. You know, on the forums, we can't do that. And, you know, I think a lot of people are gravitating over to our channels, and they're watching that. And the live streams are really, I think, giving people that need for, you know, to talk, and that need to have the interaction with other searchers that they're looking for, that they're not getting on the forums.
And Mike, I noticed that you've recently taken advantage of YouTube's live stream capability. You're incorporating it into your channel development. I think it's a great idea, but I want to go back to the original question. And then you can take off on whatever direction you want. What is your sense of the state of the search? Because you get around, right? You get around in a very positive way.
I've definitely talked to a lot of people. For me, it's increased, but that's because of the coin, right?
Yeah.
Everybody that bought a coin then also wants to email me and talk about the chase and their solve, and I'm going to go. I've been out there. I'm going to go again. But the comment that Forrest made, it definitely changed the search. I mean, it has to. There had to have been a reason that he made that comment. And everybody, you have the one end of the spectrum where people think it's them, it's their solution, and they're going to go find it this summer. And that's why he made the comment. And then the other side is, I think, instead of a specific email, could it have been a group of emails, maybe narrowing down a general location? So maybe people on a whole are getting closer. But I blame Rick for part of it, because he put 2018 on the coin, and I think a lot of people think it's going to end. There's so many people that think that Forrest wanted 2018 on the coin because he knows it's going to end this summer.
In 2018, yeah.
You're right. And I've heard that a lot, and I try and explain to them, no, it was a design contest, and that was part of the design. So I really blame Rick.
Well, Mike, isn't that what the Illuminati told you had to put on there?
That's right. There was an all-seeing eye on the back, but we had to change that. And the other thing is negative people. I've encountered several negative people because of the coin situation. But when I go on the forums, I think it's turned a little bit more negative than it has been in the past. And that's going to turn new people off. I mean, if you're going to go somewhere and post your ideas and people slam you for it, you're not really going to be back, I don't think. So I think transitioning to YouTube has helped for a lot of people.
So before I go to Joel, I do want to bring that point back up. But Shelley, you have a question from the chat room?
I do. Cynthia Meacham wanted to know.
Oh, hi, Cynthia.
Will the forest closures in New Mexico and Colorado affect Fenn's gut feeling that it will be found this summer? Did anybody ask him that?
If I remember correctly, there might be and I'm sure Chris Thor, who has her thumb on the email communications with Fenn, I think everybody has wondered that. I don't think the question has actually been asked, and I would be surprised if he would give us an answer that would be other, because if you were to say you would have to ask the question in a way that would elicit an informative answer. So if you ask him, will the forest fires affect the search, he can say no. He's not going to say yes, right? He's not going to, because at that point it becomes a clue. So if the
drops it to two states.
Yeah. If the question is, has he been asked the question, I think the answer is no. He's not been asked the question. So, Joel, let's go back to the point that you were making. You were talking about, quote, the blockbuster. And I think what surprised me about the comment is that it didn't come in the midst of an active interview where if you're sitting in front of a camera and you're talking to a wise reporter, you know, the reporters that come from these national news magazines, the national video news magazines, they can get you to say something that you really don't want. And that sometimes there's a tendency to forget you're on camera. And I think some of the things that I've used in building our solution have been things that Fenn has said that I believe he wishes could have ended up on the cutting room floor, right? Is this going to be off the record? What bothers me about the gut feeling comment is that it wasn't on one of those videos that could have ended up on a cutting room floor. It was written, and I think two things about that. A, that's why it's had the impact it's had, and B, Fenn has always said he writes what he intends to write, and this was written. So where does that put that thought in the scheme of things?
I think that it puts it in the place where, and a lot of people have this idea that there was something that he knew either through communication or what he'd observed that led him to say that. Maybe it was just a gut feeling, you know, maybe he had one of those cheap street hot dogs that he likes and with some mustard and some relish. And, you know, I don't know. But I do agree. He does not flippantly say things, and he says them in a way that is very thought out and careful, and has, I think, typically more than just its face value. I think he has a really good way of weaving in multiple meanings for the things that he's saying, deeper meanings beyond the face value of what he said. And so specifically with the gut feeling, I think what he was doing was fueling the fire. I think that was a way of him doing that. Now, did he foresee all of the effects that was going to have? No. Did he anticipate people were going to lose their lives looking for the treasure? No, he said he did not anticipate that happening. He's clear to point out 9 people die a year going to look at the Grand Canyon because of the heat. It's dangerous out there. Leaving your house can be dangerous. But he, you know, that was something I don't think he really anticipated happening with what he began. And anyways, I'd like to hear what the other panelists have to think on that. But I agree. I do not think that it was flippant.
I want to play with that a little bit because I think we can all agree, for the most part, that he is a master marketeer. But even master marketeers can make errors. And
Crystal Pepsi.
Yeah, exactly. They can make mistakes, right? They can think they're on the right track, but they come up with a mistake. And I think, for example, he made a mistake when he, I don't want to say, I've tried to explain this before. I don't think he underestimated the impact of him going national with the search once the United article was written. I don't think he had any idea. I don't want to say he underestimated it, because I just think he didn't expect it to happen. He didn't think it was that big a deal that would generate that much interest. So even as a master marketeer, he has made what we would call mistakes. Jason is a gut feeling master marketing or master marketing mistake?
Well, I mean, going back to what I believe about it. I do think it is. Well, here's the interesting thing about it. I think from his point of view, it was marketing. I think there was more motivating it than simply, how do I keep interest in this? Because honestly, he's shown more intelligence and, without a negativity to it, manipulative ability than, that gut feeling comment. That was like before the grand end of a fireworks show, somebody goes out with a flashlight and sets off some of those smoking snakes and says, look at this, look at this. It's a little tiny pop, a firecracker of a thing in the grand scheme of the marketing of this entire idea. And he's been so much smarter than that. That's why I would even begin to consider that maybe there were forces that were going on behind the scenes. Now, from the point of view of effect, I think it was a marketing mistake. I think you're absolutely right in your opinion that it dashed a lot of hopes. And certainly these falsified numbers where people are talking about, 300,000, 350,000, however many people in the chase, we'd be running into them all the time. And honestly, I've never run into, I know everyone has had an experience, I've heard them talk about it. I've never run into another searcher. as far as on the street, in my daily life, things like that. Now, I don't wear a Forrest Fenn shirt or anything, but the point is, I'm not coming across these hundreds of thousands of people
Yeah.
that are directly involved in this search.
Yeah.
And we certainly haven't run into them out in the field.
That's right. We never
you
have.
know? So I think between the falsified numbers, the suggestion that there are experts, because it's gone on long enough to create that feeling, there are people who are experienced at this, and there are people who are quote unquote new. And then that comment combined in a perfect storm to shut down a lot of people's feelings about it. And then the worst part is the energy of that could quickly get turned into a very negative backlash on the very same forums you guys were just talking about.
Yeah.
They start reading those comments and going, oh, well, shit. I mean, did it really go down like that? And, and that's why you'll get questions like that where people are essentially asking you, Toby, you were there. How did this go down? Mm-hmm. And that's what they're wondering. They're wondering, is there some foul play here?
Yeah. I wonder how, assuming that we can get through the end of the summer without the treasure being found, I wonder how people are going to feel then, whether we're back to where we were before he said it, which is, oh, it's still out there and I can still find it. So I want Rick to kind of focus on this, because he's probably made as many trips to look for this treasure as anyone. When you heard that remark, Rick, what was your reaction? How did it change your search strategies? What did you do about it?
You mean the gut feeling reaction, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, man, you'd have to be in my shoes to answer this question.
Well, that's why I'm asking you. It's you're in your shoes.
Basically, I don't care if I have to drive 20 hours. 20 hours there, 20 hours back, and I only get 6 hours to search. I'm going to drive it. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to keep doing it because everybody knows I've had communication with Fenn. Mm-hmm. I've talked to him numerous times. And sometimes he wrote me one time. He says, I don't know why people think that I misspell things or I don't mean what I say when I say them. So he's not slipping. He meant what he said.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I wanted, because Joel, you're relatively new to this, but you have spent time boots on the ground. You're also extremely analytical. When you heard him, when you read that phrase, how did you respond to it? How did it change your strategies? What impact did it have on you?
Well, so my impact was a couple months earlier, I had written him and said, Forrest, I can't help but feeling if I do this, 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 and this, and then explain my solve to him, that I'm going to walk home with the treasure. Never heard back from him. Mm-hmm. And then he comes out with this about the gut feeling. Mm-hmm. So there goes my analytical brain, right? And now suddenly I'm drinking the Kool-Aid and making plans to go out. So, gold bug fever.
Right.
Absolutely. But I think that with most people, and if I was honest and looking at it, Jason, you're winning me over to your camp. I know it's surprising, right? That there may be, you have a tapestry, right? On one side, there's what you want everyone to see. And on the back side, it's a mess. And if you get to see behind the curtain, if you get to see the back side of the tapestry, it's a very different thing. And there may be reasons why, like Rick was saying, the things that he says and the way he spells things, the way he does things, there's a reason for that. And I think that I think that there's a reason why he said what he did.
Mm. Mike, you put a lot of thought into these things, and although you haven't been out boots on the ground as others have, you do put enough thought to produce the quality content that you do. You heard it, you read it like everyone else. What was your initial reaction, and then how did it impact your thoughts about how you're going to go off and do this search eventually?
My initial thought was, oh no, everybody is going to think it's directed toward them.
Yeah.
And I think it makes people double down on their search, that I've got to get out there now because I'm close. But personally, I think Forrest is still sharp. He doesn't do anything on accident. I think his words are very careful. But he's done this throughout. I mean, the important possibility related to the winning solve, there's people are in tight focus with a word that is key. I think he lets these little hints go on purpose, and I think he gets a kick out of it. I think it's his form of entertainment is to see what it does to all the searchers. I don't think it's in a malicious way, but I think he likes to put these little things out there. Not that they're not true, but he wants to see what the reaction would be. I mean, he calls the second book Too Far to Walk, and that's a line in the poem. The foreword of Once Upon a While about parking at the Denver Museum. He does all these little things, and it drives everybody crazy, and I think he just likes the reaction. And sits back and watches how everybody reacts.
I think one of the things that struck me as consistent with everyone who's serious about the search was that whether or not you had communicated with him when he said, I have a gut feeling someone is going to find it this summer, that your first reaction to it was, oh, he is talking directly to me. And I think that did change how searchers are, going out. There were a couple that went out earlier when it was still snowing to make sure they recovered it, et cetera, et cetera. So before I go back to the question, Shelley, you have some questions from the chat room?
I just wanted to mention that Chris Thor did remark that she asked Forrest the question about fires in the area. Were they going to be a deterrent to the gut feeling?
Yeah, I thought she had, yeah.
She's not received an answer yet.
Okay.
Then we have Sean Dodson from the flip side, and he says, I think reading the entire response from Forrest from the 6 questions provides the context for the gut feeling. So I pulled that up, and I'll just read it really quickly here.
Okay.
It starts with the question from Mysterious Writings. Are you aware of any more progress made past the first 2 clues? Have searchers homed into other clues or words in the poem? Have searchers been closer than 200 feet to the treasure? And his answer is, I am rarely told exactly where people are searching, so I don't know if they are getting closer or not. My gut feeling is that someone will find it this summer.
So it was the context of that series of questions that she asked. Jenny is very wise in that way. She says that she's calling it 6 questions, but she manages, I think at the last time we counted 21 questions that she got out of it, which is very smart. So thanks for that. Any other questions before from the chat room before I move on? Let's make sure we get those answered.
We have a lot of just talk about their commenting on some of the things that we're saying, how many people have found other searchers while they're out and about. And so, yeah, they're just listening, and they're telling about how they feel about the gut feeling. Comment that some of them felt like it was about them. Some of them felt like somebody's going to find it really soon. And some of them feel that it will definitely be found by Fenn's birthday this year. So
wow. Let's see. What is it? Is that the week we're going to be out searching?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Hey, we like that thought. I do want to mention that Sean Dodson from the flip side of the Fenn treasure hunt will be doing an after party immediately after our show. We're going to try and keep this to an hour if we make it to an hour, but I know they're planning to do a party immediately afterwards. Is that one of those copper mug drink things?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice. What is that called? Mule? Is that the mule thing?
Yeah, this is in honor of the fact that I don't agree with you on the New Mexico thing. This is a Montana mule.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure if it was a New Mexico thing, it would be called a mula. So, all right.
So, Toby, here's a thought real quick.
Go ahead.
And maybe this would be a topic for another show, but let's say it is found this summer. Let that sink in for a minute. Let's say the treasure chest is found, the solution comes out, and then when that dies down, a lot of people are going to have a void in their life.
Yeah.
So who's going to step up to fill the void? I say we all get together and do our own treasure hunt for when and if the Forrest Fenn treasure hunt ends. It's just something to think about.
That's very smart. I like the idea. I know it's not going to be, for us to get together to have something as valuable as Fenn has hidden.
Right.
But I think, and you've been working on a lot of this. You've conducted other treasure hunts. You've participated in other treasure hunts. I think your idea for doing something like that, because we are building a community of searchers. Now, those searchers happen to be Forrest
Fanatics.
Forrest Fenn treasure hunters. But I think if you were to create that kind of environment for everyone, and of course move it out of the Rocky Mountains, make it available to people in other states as well, you know, across the United States. So I like that idea, and I think it's going to happen one day. It may not happen this year.
Right.
It may not happen next year. But it could very well happen in our lifetimes, and certainly in the lifetime of a Gypsy's Kiss. Shelley and I were having a conversation yesterday about what we're going to do what we're going to do with our channel when somebody finds the treasures. And we've got 3 or 4 ideas that we're working on. I hope you guys really like New Mexican food. So,
You know, I got something I'd like to mention.
go ahead,
quick.
Rick.
All right. When you sent out the email describing what the show was going to be about tonight, you know, you had talked about the bad feeling that you got, you know, while you were shooting.
Yeah.
You know, and I got all kinds of bad vibes watching the video at the book signing, you know, and I really was under the impression that Forrest seemed like, you know, he didn't want to be there. It's, you know, like I'm done with this, but I got the feeling he knows he's committed to it. You know, he has to be there. It's his books. He's signing it for his, you know, people buying the books, but it really just seemed like he did not want to be there at all.
Well, let me give you some background information on that. I was in contact with Connie Wilmoth, who was hosting Fenbury this year. She did all the work that organized it. She took it over after Cynthia realizing that she was going to be traveling, and David Rice, Desert File, realized that they couldn't support organizing it this year. So Connie took it over. She put a lot of time and a lot of money into it. And so we started communicating with her about how we could help or what we could do in terms of promoting it. And there were a couple of times where she said, well, are you guys going to be filming it? And she used filming in the sense of that could be recording the event or streaming the event. We hadn't thought about it. And the reason we hadn't thought about it is because generally speaking, each time Fenbury has occurred in the past, we've been out on a recon. But the more and more we talked to her, we thought, okay, well, let's see how we can help out. And one of the ways was to help out with the streaming of the book signing event. And I thought when I first heard it, I thought it was going to be a traditional book signing event that I've recorded in the past. And I talked about this on our show yesterday, where Fenn would be sitting on stage. There would be an audience set around him. I could put my camera on a tripod, and we could record him talking about whatever we wanted to talk about, and then going afterwards to the back room of Collected Works and signing some books. Well, the next thing that happened is I spoke with Dorothy, and Dorothy said a couple of things. It's not going to be anything like that. Secondly, Collected Works didn't make a big deal about it. They didn't think of it as one of their own events. They referred to it as it's a Fenbury thing. It's associated with Fenbury. And then the time changed from 2 o'clock to 11 o'clock. And that was at Fenn's request. So when she told me that I couldn't even bring a tripod, and when she started to describe what was going to happen, that's when I decided to go with kind of a B-roll camera that was on a monopod and made me very mobile. That action, that mobility, that just kind of following Fenn around, put me in a different situation that I had ever been in the past. Before he was there, I was here on a tripod, my camera on a tripod, and I had him mic'd up. Right. This was completely different in that I was basically following him around. And so I had never recorded him interacting with searchers. And so this was a first for me, that interaction with searchers. And I think there were basically 3 categories. The ones that just wanted to spend some time with him, because that's what it felt like. They just wanted to spend a little time with the man and were very polite. And then there was a second group that wanted to get as much time close to him as possible. And then there was that third group, and I think it's the third group that started making me uncomfortable, that seemed to come with some form of an agenda where they wanted validation for whatever they call their solutions. Oh, yeah. And that's where it got kind of weird. And so I watched Fenn very carefully, and he managed it, as Jason described, as having watched the video. He managed it. He controlled it very nicely. It was obvious. There was a little poker game going on every time one of these searchers came out, and he was winning the game of poker, right? He handled each one. There was no bluffing to be done. You can't bluff this man. And then at some point he'd look over the searcher's shoulder at Shiloh, and Shiloh would politely but assertively you know, we've got to get on to the next.
Yeah, like I was talking about earlier. Yeah, he'd step right in.
Yeah.
Nobody messes with Shiloh.
No, and nor should they. There was a second grandson there as well. His name was Sam. He's almost as tall as Shiloh, younger. You could tell. But they were there in a very protective mode. Even as he was walking out, there were searchers trying to follow him out the door, and Shiloh was running a moving blockade to prevent that from happening.
You know, I did see something else I thought was a strange coincidence. I had talked to Fenn Treasure Hunter about it the other day. But do you remember the guy that walks up and Forrest goes, "Oh, I know you. Your picture's in the post office." So I started thinking about that. Well, the post office, the only pictures I know in a post office are a wanted poster. And then I kept thinking of Thor's site. And I'm like, man, they just did that wanted poster contest. I wonder if there's something with that.
Maybe he's on it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the guy that had got busted in Fenton Lake State Park.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, for digging someplace he shouldn't have been digging. He got caught. They did ticket him. He was the one that Fenn, during the conversation sometime when he was out in front, Fenn said, "You're not supposed to dig where you're not supposed to dig."
Oh, that's the same guy?
Yeah, same guy. Same guy. So, but it was an interesting event, and I don't know necessarily. So I've been saying since May 18th, since the screening of The Lure back in May 18th of 2017, that we thought he was stepping back from the search. And I think, mentally speaking, he's probably there. I think I agree with you. I think he's kind of, there's nothing he can do. There's nothing else he can write. There's nothing else he can say. There's nothing else no answer to any question that is going to make a difference unless he just starts giving away clues for free, and that's not going to happen.
Well, you know, I got to give this to Fenn Treasure Hunter. He said, you know, Forrest said he don't like doing anything more than 15 years. But then he tells you it took 15 years to write the poem. So was he telling us, man, I'm done with it from before it even starts?
Yeah, it could very well be. There's a point at which when you write the book, the poem is written, the book is published, the treasure is in place, and they publish 1,000. You know, I go back to our Fenn died in December 2010 rule. I think he thought he had done all he needed to do to get the effect that he wanted this, and then things changed.
Well, it's a great point, Rick, and if you think about it, if you go into the original microcosm of what he might have thought it would have been, which is publish 1,000 books, help out a local independent bookseller friend of mine, and get a lot of people in Santa Fe and northern New Mexico excited about getting into the woods again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It pretty well would have wrapped up in a clean 15 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like one way or another, either it would have died down or something like that.
Yeah.
But you know, I do want to say one point is, while I do agree with Toby's assessment that there's been kind of a, how'd you put it, a disturbance in the force.
Yes, there is.
You know, I will say the fact remains that the treasure is out there, that he's placed it out there, that we know what's in there, and that, so, you know, all other things aside, the hunt is still on just as much as it ever was. You can get caught up in bummer ideas and who's going to get it next, and is it a rush? Does somebody know something I don't know? But the truth is, for all of us who are paying attention and still on our game, we're all still in this game.
Yeah.
You know? So, so I think I kind of use that to kind of assuage any wounds I might have from those scary feelings. I think some of that comes from the natural maturity of the chase. You know, like I said, you get a lot of people who get turned off and they go on their first. Here's the other thing. Not all of them are crazy like us. They're not willing to put in 10 searches, 20 searches, 50 searches, go through vehicles, you know?
Yeah.
There's some out there who, you know, they did their shot. They had 1 or 2 vacations they could put into it, and they did that. And then they say, hell with it. You know, and then of course, what are you going to go to? The easiest thing to say, you know, it's a hoax. He's lying, whatever. You know, and unfortunately, in these days, those people, those words have just as much weight as the people who are intelligently following this, parsing the clues and the poem and looking for clues. they have just as much weight in the comment boxes and the forums and stuff like that. And you know, it's just one of the things that comes along with the modern internet.
You want to hear something funny?
Yeah, do it.
You remember the Forrest said, "Oh, we're getting a lot of mileage out of that little girl from India," right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that, and I started thinking, well, I added up my trips, 2,200 miles, and I was trying to figure it out. And by the time I got done figuring it up, I figured, well, if it was possible to drive to India, I could have gone round trip 14 times.
Wow.
Let me take that question to both Mike and Joel, because you're relatively new in comparison to, say, Rick and I. But if the treasure, I have to be cautious the way that I ask this. If you don't find the treasure this summer, and if no one else finds the treasure by this end of this summer, will you spend time researching this winter and start looking again next summer? Joel?
Absolutely.
So you're now a committed searcher. This is not a hoax. It's out there. It hasn't been found, and I still have a chance of finding it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I did this last year after researching it last year, so like a year ago now, and then doing a boots on the ground at the end of that search season, and then coming back and saying, okay, I'm pot committed now. You know, I've got to. So then you feel like you've already got a lot of traction on the research, on the learning about the man, trying to figure out the poem, and then coming up with new ideas. And that's the thrill of the chase. That's what I like about it. It's this, or I could be watching reruns on Netflix, and I choose to do this,
or serving those thousands of clients that you have in your legal
or playing the accordion. Mike,
only on weekends.
Mike, same question. You've been at it here for a while. You've had the engagement. You've had enough time so that Rick can steal your background for his background. If you don't find it this summer, and if no one else finds it this summer, are you going to research over the winter and start looking again next summer?
Yeah, I would not give up, but I'm a realistic kind of person. So all I can say is if I actually go search and I drive 15 hours, you better look out, because it should be there. I'm not just going to go out on a whim, in other words, but I know everybody probably thinks the same thing about their solution. But yeah, if I went, I looked, it was not there, I get there and think, well, this doesn't make sense, I would definitely start researching as soon as I got back. So
okay.
Just plan another.
That's what I want to hear. Shelley, I know there's some questions in the room. We are running down in time. So let's get those questions in the room answered as much as we can, please.
Okay. So we had a question from Fenn Treasure Hunter.
Hey, Jason, how are you doing? That's Jason Dent, sorry.
And I highlighted it, and then my highlight disappeared. So let me keep looking for a second here. But
while
what
Shelley
he was
looks for
wanting
that,
to know...
I'll say one thing.
Okay, while you're looking for it, go ahead, Joel.
In the article that did come out today, it came out that Sam, his grandson, had been out looking for the treasure, which means that he's now a searcher. So I charge you with getting him on your show as a guest, and we can see where he searched and start picking his brain a little bit.
That's you know what? I'm going to work hard to do that. I can.
And Shiloh will be there, so he won't actually.
So he won't ask any questions.
Perfect.
Yeah, that might be, and that could even be like a face-to-face interview where we meet him up at the Collected Works. If I remember correctly, Fenn was surprised to hear that Sam had been out. Is that correct? Because I only skimmed the article. I basically looked at my pictures, so I really didn't get a good.
Something else that was in the article that everybody catch, that at least the reporter said, that Fenn said he actually hid the treasure a couple weeks before his 80th birthday. Now, how can that be a mistake? I mean, that's a big mistake if the reporter got it wrong, but that is in the article. Check that out.
Oh, I hadn't. Like I said, I skimmed it because I found out about it. Our friend Jono Jones from the UK sent me the article because he is in the UK, and I had a chance to skim it before I had to get ready for the show. I'll read it afterwards, and maybe we can report on it later.
Specifically says he was 79 when he hit it. So, I mean, that's the confirmation.
Wow. That changes some of our...
Go check those car rental records.
Right.
Shelley, let's go back to your questions.
Well, just like Mike said, that was what the reporter reported, so we don't know
Yeah, could be
exactly
wrong.
what was said. Yeah.
Let's all email Forrest tonight and ask.
I'll tell you what, I'd like to make a point about it. She cited several of the quotations I made. I want you to know that the whole time she was interviewing me, she had a digital recorder in her hand and had it on the whole time. And there was some point where she stepped away from the table and I lifted it up and asked her, would you like to turn this off? And she said, no, keep it on. I want to collect all of it. So it is very likely that if Fenn said that, he said that into a digital recorder on the record and she captured that. I would bet after spending time with her, she was very efficient, very effective. And as you can tell, I think it's a well-written article. Now, some of it's the same stuff that we've heard hundreds of times before, but I think it's a very well put together article. So I would trust that that's what she said. Okay, Shelley, sorry.
Fenn Treasure Hunter had said, is it Fenn causing the disturbance or us and our perceptions? And then Dale Richards said, will the mood of the community improve after the snow falls if the treasure's not found?
So, all right, Joel, you're from Minnesota. Take the second one. Will the mood of the community change if we get snowfall?
So in a couple of weeks here, yeah, I think the mood will change quite a bit. You know, so we're on what, season 8 now?
Yeah.
So this has gone longer than Lost.
Right.
There's a limit to these things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And none of us may be around when it's found. Are people going to continue talking about it and searching for it? Absolutely. And I think the way for that to happen is for new people to come into the search and for new people to come up with new ideas. And Forrest has said, someone asked, do you think that new searchers are disadvantaged? And he said, no, it could be that type of fresh idea, I'm paraphrasing here, but that kind of fresh thinking may be what gets it found. And so he's definitely gone both ways in the past. And he's certainly tried to make people new to the search feel like they've got a shot at doing this thing.
Let me go back to Fenn Treasure Hunter Jason Dent. In the first part of our program, we asked a question similar to that, and Joel had a very interesting metaphor to describe it as Fenn playing the guitar and those vibrations, covering the community. And I think the conclusion that both Joel and correct me if I'm wrong, Jason Eunice, came to was that it was Fenn that was doing this. What we don't know necessarily is the level of intent on a scale of 0 to 10 from, wow, that was a big mistake, to 10, I know exactly what I'm doing. We still don't have, right now it's at a 5 and it could go either way. But I thought the way that Joel described it and Jason followed up on it with his comments on Joel's metaphor really did a good job of describing how we feel about what has happened. And I'm going to strongly recommend that you go back and take a look at the first part of the show because it was some really good information. So. Any other questions in the chat room, Shel?
Oh, we have a super chat.
Oh.
Did I tell you that?
No, you didn't. Thank you. Who's it from?
I lost my volume here. There we go. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Now.
You get carried away.
Sorry. William Ortiz.
Oh.
He asked, we have Forrest's gut feeling, but what is your thought on the possible searcher that spooked Forrest's gut? Would it be a very quiet searcher or screaming it on the blogs?
I think he has referred in the past that it's hard to tell. He knows that there are people on the blogs, but one time, a long time ago, and I'll bet you Joel can help me with this, is he said something about it might very well be the person that finds it might not very well be visible on the blogs. I don't know. I think it's a combination of things. I'd be surprised if there are 5 or 6 searchers that have shared exactly the same solution with him. But I think what it indicates when you get that many emails is how much interest there is, and how I don't want to say obsessive, how active they are in looking for it. And I think it could be something as simple as there's just a lot of people actively looking, investing time, effort, and money into all of that. That's my grandson. That's Shush Michael.
Well, he might have already answered that.
You think?
Well, he said he don't think that the person will come forward.
Yeah, what I was trying to, everybody knows that from watching our channel that we recommend that you inform the community that it's been discovered, or recovered, but that you do it anonymously. And when he said that, I didn't know which one he meant. Did he mean do it, but do it anonymously, or don't do it at all? And then the implication of that is he's always told us he would know when the treasure would be found. I have never agreed with that, because there's just no way. And of course, one day he's going to pass away and it's not going to make any difference. So, okay. So I want you to know that at the beginning of this, when we were organizing this show the past couple of days, these guys all told me that they couldn't figure out how we could keep it busy for 45 minutes, much less an hour. And look at what they've done. They're about to go over an hour. So let's close up. I want to make sure that I've gotten all the public service announcements out. Don't forget that Sean Dodson of The Flip Side is going to be conducting an after party after this, and they lead into further discussions that aren't quite so moderated. So I like that style as well. Okay, let's start with Rick. Say your goodbyes and tell people where they can find you.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching tonight. I'm Rick McDonald, Illinois Ghost. You can find me at Illinois Ghost on YouTube and illinoisghost.wordpress.com. And also, if you have anything that you want to add to that new PDF file that I'm creating, signature or photo, please email it to me.
And where can they send the email?
You can contact me right through my blog on the email on there, or you can go straight and email me to illinoisghost@icloud.com.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, we have a couple that we want to send you. Jason Michael?
I want to use my time to make one final point.
Okay.
And that is that if you think of it from a larger headspace kind of way, when you first told me about this and I was getting into the search, I thought to myself, this thing is either going to go 3 years or it could go 1,000. But there's no way it's going to be in between, because once you get the attention of that many people, either someone has the knowledge and the vision to unlock it and go to that treasure, or they don't. And it takes a damn long time to find the person who does. And if you look at what we have here, this thing has legs. I mean, it's definitely beat out the 3-year plan. You had people with an incredible skill sets that we don't even know. With more intelligence, with more computing power, some of the ciphering jobs people are doing. Yeah. And no one has come up with a clear answer on this thing yet. So honestly, I don't think the little comments along the way shouldn't be shaking anyone's thoughts about where this search is. That treasure's out there. Every one of us has a chance at this thing, and that's the state of the chase.
And you can sign off now. Thank you.
I'm Jason Eunice, and I'm a tinsmith, and you can find my work at NewMexicoTinWork.com. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for that last comment. Mike Cowling?
Yeah, Kyle Lasers on YouTube right there, so you know how to spell it. The Forrest Fenn coin thing, I started it with a drawing, and we're going to end it with a drawing. And I just put up a blog today that has the details for coin 5 and coin 6. So I invite anybody to check it out and participate if you choose to do so.
Okay. All right. And Joel?
I'm just going to take my time to encourage everybody to send your conspiracy theories and crazy solves to Mike Cowling at Cowlazars. He loves to get them and read them. So please make sure you do that.
That's good. Yeah, you could have one of those video shows where you say where you just read mean tweets, but it's mean solutions.
So, yeah, that would be interesting.
And where can we find you on YouTube, Joel?
I'm going to make it hard. Just try to find me.
Okay, that's good. I like that kind of
treasure hunt.
Yeah, treasure hunt. Find Joel.
If you can't find me, good luck with the treasure. It's my name.
And Shelley Carney.
I will be here tomorrow live on A Gypsy's Kiss for book club, and immediately after that we'll be at thesofterside.me for a conversation about conversation.
Yeah, very nice on communication, right?
That's right.
Okay, so I'm Toby Eunice. I'm with Gypsy Kiss. You will see Shelley and I tomorrow at 1 o'clock for book club. My War for Me, Chapter 17 in the Thrill of the Chase. This is part 2. And then you'll on Friday you see episode 3 of our "It's All About You" campaign. So make sure you look for that. Well, there was one last thing I wanted to say. Oh, so I am aware of now 3. There were up till this morning, there were 4 new articles going to be written before the end of this summer on the search, all in what I would call major publications. And I think the effect on that's going to have is that it's going to bring a lot of new energy into the community as these people come up with, honestly, probably some of the ideas that most of us has come up with over this time, but they're going to start asking questions, they're going to do additional research, they're going to bring up YouTube channels, etc., etc. So I think what I'm looking forward to is that infusion of energy into the search, and I hope you're looking forward to it too. So good night to my friends on the panel, Joel Lewicki, Mike Cowling, Jason Unit, my son, Jason Eunice, and Rick McDonald, my business partner, Shelley Carney. Thank you for those of you in the chat room who have been here to help us get through this tonight. I didn't see were our moderators. Did we have moderators tonight or just Shelley?
Yes.
Me and Joel and Jason.
Oh, okay. All right. So you were keeping track of it. So thank you to our moderators. And thanks for joining us. Don't forget, in tomorrow's show, we'll be giving away a copy of Aunt Lucy's cookbooks and one of Jason's ornaments. So there. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you joining us. Make sure you tune over to the Flip Side for their after party tonight, and get some more conversation on this and get into that chat room. And thank you all for participating, and thanks for sharing in this wonderful experience. Here we go with our outro.